And we continue with the Advent series with the fourth Friday of Advent, December 23rd. Sir Bors, a knight in the court of Arthur, was traveling back to Camelot after a campaign in the west against the barbarians. It was late in November, his steed shuffling through the hills of leaves that strewed the pathway. He gripped tightly his cloak, for the air, chilled as the tomb, moaned. Calling as if from a siren in the fens, imploring Bors to venture into its midst where they could snatch him and sink him into the lair of Hades, most vengeful god. He had not traveled far initially, having only rode a few days to the coast to confront the few barbarians who clambered ashore. You could still see them, perched on the hill, holding his sword tightly as they spoke in their devilish speech, the black speech, pointing in all directions. They had not come with honorable intent, he could tell. They clambered further up the ridge when he raised his sword and charged against them. The day was no more colder than today, but it felt differently. He was like a farmer sweating beneath the summer sun, as if drops of blood had now become sweat. As he swung his sword, they screamed and uttered vain prayers to their gods, the numerous ones, while he carried about his work. Would Camelot ever appreciate his work? Would the people, stuck in their own little worlds, each a little narcissist, ever know or care what he did to give them another day of peace? He doubted it. He simply swung his sword until he stood on a red beach and looked at his handiwork. He had done this numerous times before, so this was no different. And yet he felt a sickness well within. But he buried them in mounds of sand, mounted his horse, and was now on his way home. Presently he came into a wood. He never liked them. Galahad had once told him how he had been ambushed by marauders during a pilgrimage. Dagonet briefly recounted an encounter with a water troll, and Percival let slip he was seduced by a water nymph while traveling to Gaul. Either way, none of these encounters bode well, and Gawain was off somewhere in the north heading to the Green Chapel. That certainly did not bode well for him either, but why think of young Gawain when he had his own? As he traversed the wood, he could hear nothing. No birdsong, no squirrels or rabbits chattering away. He suddenly felt a rush and saw a tall, gaunt figure clad in red with a circular helmet standing before him. He stopped. "Good sir, I am but a weary traveler returning home. I beseech thee, let me pass by. I mean no offense to you, and I imagine you have none for me." But the figure did not budge. Bors again repeated his request. "In the name of Jesus Christ, our most holy sovereign, let me pass by." The figure, at this, stood aside and let him ride by. He was rattled by this figure. That helmet, how could a head even fit in there? He soon came to a stream where he again saw the same figure. He again made his request twice and he was permitted to pass. Soon, however, as he drew near to Camelot, he saw the same figure and finally had enough. "Good sir, you have now worked to impede me thrice. Tell me, who art thou that would hinder me in this way?" The figure produced an axe and removed his helmet to reveal a bleeding skull. "I am Wotan, the god of the men you've slain. These three were my sons, Balder, Frey, and Vali. They came here to dwell among the people who invoked both my name and theirs, but you hindered them, instead drawing blood in and inflicting them with the mortal injuries. Hark! Their blood even now cries out to me from the sands, begging me to avenge them 3 times more. And each time I hindered you is for the number of my sons who now rest in Valhalla, decrying you and asking for justice. Shall you permit me to pass?" "Nay." Bors drew his sword and the two fought. He could feel the spirits of many dead press down on him. It was as if the weight of hell was now pushing him to the earth, and the ground beneath quaked and shivered. "Come, Bors, let me take you to your brethren, the waking dead," it seemed to say. Bor's legs quivered and he cried out, "Now, Christ, bestow upon me thy strength and virtue." At once his legs sprang up and he cut the axe in two and held the sword to Wotan's neck. "I have bested thee, Wotan." "Thou hast, but I believe 'tis a custom to request something from thee." "Then make it so. Permit me to reclaim the bodies of my sons and give them a proper burial in their ancestral lands. I will then depart from these lands and never again claim the souls on this island. But, I tell thee, long after thou hast shuffled this mortal coil, my devotees will flood the land, assault and ravage it with iron and fire. But if ye hold tight to the faith in this Christ, they will never overcome thy people, and I will never again claim an altar for my own, but rather depart to the sunless lands where I shall dine with my sons every night." Sir Bors sheathed his sword. "Very well. Make it so." At this, Wotan collected his broken axe, and the skull was now the head of a gray-haired man. He bowed deeply to the knight and departed, with Bors looking after the figure as it turned into a giant raven, and flew off towards the coast, its cry reverberating through the dying autumn air.